Imagine fooling the world's smartest people for over 40 years. Not with a story, but with a few pieces of bone. This is the tale of the Piltdown Man, a discovery celebrated as the missing link between apes and humans. But it was all a clever lie. This incredible trick started in 1912, and for decades, scientists everywhere believed it. They wrote books about it. They built their careers on it. The fake fossil sat in a museum, hailed as one of the greatest finds in history, while the truth was buried deeper than any bone. To understand why this trick worked, we have to go back to the early 1900s. It was a time of great scientific discovery, but also a time of great national pride. It felt like a race. Scientists in Germany had found the bones of an ancient human called Neanderthal. France had found another, the Cro-Magnon. The British Empire was the most powerful in the world, but it felt left out. It had no great fossil discovery of its own. The country's best minds were desperate to find the first Englishman, proof that human evolution had happened right there, on their soil. They wanted to believe. Then a man named Charles Dawson appeared. He was not a famous scientist, but a lawyer who loved looking for old things. In 1912, he walked into the British Museum with a story. He said he had found pieces of a very old skull in a gravel pit in a small town called Piltdown. The pieces looked amazing. The skull part looked human, but the jawbone looked like it belonged to an ape. It was the perfect mix. It was exactly what the scientists had been hoping to find. They were overjoyed. They named it Dawson's Dawn Man in his honor. But here's the secret. The fossil was a fake. The con artist had taken a human skull, one that was only about 600 years old, and attached it to the jaw of a modern orangutan. It was a Frankenstein's monster made of bone. To make the pieces look like they belonged together, and to make them look very, very old, the trickster did something simple. They stained everything with a special chemical to make it look brown and ancient. The new bones suddenly looked like they had been in the ground for 500,000 years. Now, this is where the con gets really clever. An ape's jaw has huge, sharp canine teeth. These big teeth would never fit with a human-like skull. Everyone would know it was a fake. The con artist knew this, so they did something incredibly bold. They took a metal file and carefully scraped the teeth down. They made them smaller and flatter, to look more like human teeth. The file marks were there, plain as day, if anyone had looked closely enough. But for 40 years, no one did. A master trickster knows the con is more than just the object. It needs a story. It needs a stage. The forger didn't just make a fake skull. They built a whole fake discovery site in a gravel pit. To make the lie believable, the con artist carefully salted the area. This means they planted other things to be found. They added real, ancient animal fossils, like pieces of a hippo and an elephant. These bones were brought from other places and buried to make the site seem old and important. Every piece of evidence was placed there on purpose. It was like building a movie set. The goal was to create a place so real, so convincing, that no one would question the main discovery. The pit itself became part of the con, a silent partner in the lie. And the scientific world didn't just believe it, they celebrated it. The find was announced to the Geological Society of London. The room was filled with the smartest minds in the country, and they gave it thunderous applause. The fake fossil was given a fancy scientific name. They called it Dawson's Dawn Man. It became a star. It was put into textbooks and taught in schools. For more than 40 years, an entire generation grew up learning about a creature that never existed. This shows us something powerful about how our minds work. Why did so many brilliant people fall for such a big lie? It's because the Piltdown Man told them a story they really wanted to be true. The story was that the first truly intelligent human came from England. It was a story of national pride. Believing in the Piltdown Man meant believing that their country was the cradle of humanity. The lie felt good, so it was easier to accept than the hard truth. But for decades, the Piltdown Man was a weird puzzle piece. as real fossils of our ancestors were found in other parts of the world, like Africa and Asia. None of them looked right. They didn't match the English fossil. All the new real discoveries showed the same thing. Our ancestors' jaws and teeth changed first, and their brains got bigger much later. But Piltdown suggested the exact opposite. It said the big brain came first. It simply didn't fit with the growing mountain of real evidence. The big unraveling began in 1949. Science, the very thing the con artists tried to fool, came up with a new way to fight back. A new technology called fluorine absorption dating was created. This new test was simple but clever. It measures how long a bone has been in the ground by checking how much fluorine it has soaked up. The longer it's buried, the more fluorine it has. A scientist named Dr. Kenneth Oakley decided to test the famous Piltdown fragments. The results were a shock. The human skull had one level of fluorine, but the ape-like jaw had a completely different, much lower level. This was proof. They were not from the same time. They were not from the same creature. The 40-year-old lie was finally starting to crack. Finally, in 1953, a team of scientists decided to end the debate for good. They launched a full investigation using new technology the original discoverers never had. They put the teeth under a powerful microscope, and the secret was revealed almost instantly. There were tiny, unmistakable marks left by a metal file. The teeth hadn't worn down naturally. They had been shaped by hand. The reddish-brown color that made the bones look ancient? It was just a chemical paint, a simple stain to fool the eye. The team then did one final test. They drilled a tiny hole into the jawbone. A puff of smoke came out that smelled of burning bone, not ancient, rock-like fossil. The con was over. The famous Piltdown man was a fake, a human skull joined with the jaw of an orangutan. With the trick exposed, the biggest question of all remained. Who was the con artist? The main suspect has always been Charles Dawson, the man who first found the bones. He was an amateur collector who was later linked to a few other smaller forgeries. He desperately wanted to be seen as a great scientist. But Charles Dawson died in 1916, long before his great discovery was proven to be a great lie. He couldn't answer any questions. Some experts believe he had help, that another smarter person planned the hoax. Over the years, people have blamed everyone from a museum worker to the famous writer who created Sherlock Holmes. The truth is, we may never know for sure. So what does this incredible story teach us? The tale of Piltdown Man became one of science's biggest embarrassments. It was a black eye for some of the smartest people in the world, but it was also one of the most important lessons they could ever learn. The whole affair is a powerful reminder that science isn't just about facts and numbers. It's done by people, and people have hopes, dreams, and biases. They can be fooled, especially when a discovery tells them exactly what they want to hear. In the end, this grand deception made science stronger. It forced experts to develop better, more careful ways to test their finds. It taught them to question everything, even ideas that seem perfect. The fake fossil of Piltdown Man reminded the whole world that the search for truth requires a healthy dose of doubt. After the big reveal, science had to take a long, hard look at itself. Textbooks were rewritten. Museum displays were taken down in shame. The Piltdown Man, once a star of human history, became a warning. A story told to new students about how easy it is to be fooled, even when you are very, very smart. It showed that evidence must be checked and rechecked, no matter how perfect it seems. The biggest question remained. Who did it? Charles Dawson, the man who found the bones, was the main suspect. But he had passed away long before the hoax was uncovered. He couldn't defend himself or confess. Some people think he acted alone, wanting fame and recognition. Others believe he had help, maybe from someone who wanted to play a prank on the serious world of science. The mystery of the trickster's name is part of the story's power. Was it a joke that went too far? Or was it a serious plan to fool the world's best minds? We may never know for sure. The con artist, or artists, got away with it. They watched for years as their creation became famous, a secret they took to their graves. This whole trick worked because of something called confirmation bias. That's a simple idea. It means we like information that agrees with what we already believe. The scientists in England wanted to believe that the first human was English. So when a skull that looked English was found in England, they were excited. They saw what they wanted to see. Their hope made them blind to the clues. The jawbone didn't quite fit the skull. The teeth were filed down in a strange way. A smart dentist today would spot the fake in minutes. But back then, the excitement was too big. It was a national treasure, a source of pride. No one wanted to be the one to say the treasure might be fake. The con artist understood this perfectly. They didn't just create a fake fossil. They created a story that people were desperate to hear. It was a story of national greatness, of being first, of being special. The bones were just props in a much bigger play about pride and belief. And so, the lie sat in a museum for over 40 years. It was studied by experts. It was written about in books. It was taught to children in schools. All that time, it was just a clever mix of a human skull and an ape's jaw, stained to look old. A simple trick that fooled the world. The real lesson from the Piltdown Man isn't about old bones. It's about how the human mind works. We can all be fooled, especially when a lie tells us something we want to be true. A good con artist doesn't sell you a lie. They sell you a story that you already want to buy. Think about it. The desire to believe is a powerful thing. It can make us ignore obvious facts. It can make us trust people we shouldn't. The Piltdown hoax is a giant historical example of this. It's a reminder to always ask questions, to look closer, and to be a little suspicious of stories that seem too good to be true. In the end, the truth did come out. Science corrected itself. That's the good part of the story. But the tale of the Piltdown Man lives on. It's a fantastic, slightly embarrassing, and very human story about a clever trick that worked for a very, very long time.